guys, this is Ranjit, and as you can see, I'm in a very different setup. I'm actually at the Xiaomi's headquarters in Bangalore, and you have Mr. Anuj with me. You guys must be familiar. He's the CMO of Xiaomi now. And thank you, Anuj, for inviting me here. A fabulous setup that actually you guys have over here. And Anuj invited me that I could ask him any question, sort of AMA. So I'll ask you some questions related to Xiaomi and Redmi. But before that, I just generally want to get a gist of what's going on, because you are in a position that you have an overall picture what's going on in the smartphone industry. Right. So before I ask you some questions about Xiaomi and Redmi, and I have some questions, what is the most significant change that you have seen in the smartphone market among users in the past 2 years? Because the past 2 years have been very, very different.
Past 2.5 years actually, right? A lot of things has changed. One is phones have become more and more important. More personalized devices, because everyone was at home. So, there's normally one TV or something like that. So everyone went onto their phones.
More screen time, I would.
More screen time. So I think, 2019, the average screen time used to be just around 3.5 hours.
Okay.
Now it has gone up almost 4.5, reaching 5 hours on an average. So there are obviously people who are spending a lot more time there.
I guess that's why I get the question battery life now.
So screen on time and all that starts coming in. Another thing that has changed, finally we have 5G.
Okay.
Right, because for the longest time, we had this promise of 5G.
Now we have it.
We have. And this was a very, very scary time for us for the last 2 years when we were launching 5G phones.
And there was a lot of confusion between the bands also. Like nobody was very clear, which will be the exact band.
For some time, this number of bands became a thing, right? Now we know that we only need about 3 bands or so. Right? So we need N78, we need N28 and things like that. So now that confusion is gone, so we know exactly what it takes for 5G to work in India, everywhere, in all the networks. So at least that's become a lot more clearer. So obviously people are using it a lot more. The expectation of a phone has changed, but I think the big shift that I'm expecting now is that we have 5G, things will start improving in terms of overall connectivity.
So you feel now most users will gravitate towards 5G?
Most of the early adopters will. People who want to try it out will. There are obviously some people who are very comfortable with 4G. Also, 5G is expensive.
Yeah, and 4G is not going to go out anywhere. People think like, 5G is coming, the 4G will go. No.
So everywhere in the world, both have coexisted wherever they've launched. Most of the cases, people have charged more for a 5G SIM.
Obviously.
In India, luckily, it's the same price, so I expect the adoption to be a lot faster than other countries.
Interesting. Okay, so that was a very generic question, but now let's come down to Xiaomi. How does the year 2023 look like from Xiaomi's point of view, from a business point of view, I would say?
It is going to be a very interesting year. For the last 2-3 years, all the challenges that came about, I don't think are going away.
Okay, right? Let's continue.
So the pricing, the challenges in terms of technology, the challenges in terms of the geopolitical situation that's happening across the world, right? So the oil prices were impact
and the dollar pricing is also going against
and the dollar pricing. So that's going to be quite a challenging situation, from a business perspective. But from our aspect, what we are looking at is how do we kind of rationalize our outlook, go with a very, very sharp focus and a targeted focus rather than trying to do too much.
Okay, interesting. Okay, now coming back to recently just on Twitter, you guys celebrated the 8 years of the Note series, which I feel is a very important device. I remember the Note 5 Pro was very important because I feel that was a camera-centric smartphone.
Correct.
Okay, but do you think now in the Indian market, we are getting too many variants of a similar smartphone? And I would say the Note series was targeting the mid price band, and now I feel the mid price band has changed considerably what we used to think about.
It is.
15,000-16,000 was considered the mid price band, but now I see that has changed. And again, one more question I have is, it's not just Xiaomi, I'm just talking about general in the industry. For a particular, lineup, maybe it's the Note lineup also. Now you have so many variants. Regular Note, maybe Plus, Pro, Plus, Pro. So many variants, and it's confusing the user. So what do you have to say about it?
Okay. So 2-3 different questions.
Yeah.
So one is, I think, from a Note perspective, obviously, not just for Xiaomi, but for the overall industry, Note has been very, very significant.
Yeah.
I think I remember when the first Note was launched back in 2014, I was not part of Xiaomi, right?
Yeah.
But even from outside in, we were looking at how important that device was and how it was changing the industry.
Correct.
I think that was the first 4G device with a Snapdragon 400
Yeah.
under 10,000
Yeah,
rupees.
something.
So at that point, nobody expected it.
And during that time, the Note series, whenever they used to launch, was a very, very important device.
Correct.
And if you look at the performance to the price point, and it was a very, I would say, standout.
Correct. Every time, right? So for example, you talked about performance. So till the Note 3 in 2016, performance used to be like okay in terms of mid-segment. From there, it just completely changed, right? You could not, it started off with Snapdragon 650, everything else had to be powerful, should be able to run everything. One interesting stat, I think, was at a given point, I think back in 2017 and 2018 beginning, when PUBG was launched, almost half the PUBG users in India were on a Redmi Note.
Okay.
But the next big thing that changed on the Note was the cameras.
Yeah, camera focus.
So Note 5 Pro onwards. So till Note 3, Note 4, the camera wasn't that much of a focus because performance used to be. 2018 onwards, along with performance, now the camera started coming up.
Okay.
So 2018, the camera improved. I think in 2019, with the Note 7 Pro and the Note 8 Pro, it reached almost flagship levels. And
it's a pretty good camera.
So we had 48 MP coming in, 64 MP coming in. And the third thing, because of the lockdown and the first question that you were asking, right, what are people doing? Because people were spending so much time on the screens, with the Note 10 series, it all switched to AMOLED and Super AMOLED.
Yeah.
So a good screen, great cameras, great performance, obviously. And last year, we also kind of looked at a few more enhancements.
I think the faster charging or something you guys brought it into the Note lineup, right?
Correct. So we did that. About having too many notes.
Yeah, this is a general thing that I'm seeing in the industry. Like one variant, you'll have so many. I forgot plus, minus, pro. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think the two aspects of it. One is in 2020-21, the overall component shortage meant that you would have as many variants of whatever component you could get.
Okay.
So you would try and kind of match. So the demand was still there, right? Actually the demand went up in 2020 because we were all at home and everyone wanted a phone of their own, right?
Okay.
So even kids started getting phones for attending classes.
Okay.
So you couldn't make, Note has traditionally sold about 10 million phones every year. You couldn't get 10 million components.
Okay.
The second thing that's, I think, happened is when people have tried to kind of capture a lot of price bands.
Okay.
Right. So in that case, there have been some overlaps, which became really bad. And I'll be very honest with you
because I see the Note 10 Pro was pretty popular, but that's not. I feel. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Note 11 series, I felt it didn't do that great, right?
Right.
Maybe if there was too many models or what.
So I think, from one, yes, I think it was a little too confusing. And the second one was the whole 4G to 5G transition added to the confusion.
Okay, got it.
So suddenly you had a Note lineup and then you had an overlapping Note 5G lineup with it, right? Because you didn't know what was coming in, when it was coming in. So for example, with the Note 11 series, we just went a little too wide.
Okay.
So we had the Note 11, then they had 11 Pro, 11 Pro Plus, 11S, 11T.
Too many variants.
I think we definitely need to correct that one this year.
Okay.
And going forward.
Nice to look at. Okay, now coming back, I think so you touched upon this one, but let me again come back to this. Regarding the pricing of smartphones during the past 2 years has completely changed. As a reviewer also, I have that challenge. Earlier, we could say like, okay, mid-range is 15 to 17,000 or something. But now, I don't see any compelling mid-range phones at around 15,000 price point. So now looking at what do you define as a brand mid-range? And I know you guys have a lot of analytics, data and all those things. I want to hear it from you.
I think it'll be easier if we define, the economy range or the mid-range or the mid-premium by dollar pricing.
Okay.
Because dollar has gone up significantly.
Right now it's about 82 or something, right?
Yeah. So if I look at it, so one is all we can control is unfortunately the BOM cost or the bill of material cost.
Okay. Obviously.
So what it takes to manufacture, what is the hardware cost and the R&D cost that is associated with every device. That is the only thing that we can control, which also is slightly going out of control because of the global supply chain shortages.
Problems, yeah.
After that, everything is larger economics. So if you see dollar, we spoke about Note 5 Pro.
Yeah.
So Note 5 Pro, we launched 6128 in February 2018. And that 6128 was priced at 15,999.
Almost 16,000, yeah.
Now suppose the cost of making that phone at that point was $200.
Okay.
Right? I'm just giving a hypothetical part.
Whatever.
Now, if I have to make another phone with $200 today, the dollar has gone up from 63 to 82. Our taxes have gone up.
GST has gone up. It was 12 odds, now it's 18, right?
Correct. So 18% coming in there. The import tax on certain components have gone up.
That is also,
And the components have also gone up.
Okay.
So a same 15,999 phone or the same cost of making a 15,999 phone will give us a 23 or a 24,000 rupee phone today.
I never thought it like that.
So
Interesting.
essentially your mid segment is actually moved up. Your mid segment is no longer 15,000.
Okay.
It is somewhere close to about 25,000 today.
Wow. That's an interesting insight. I didn't think about it like that. Because that's not just your brand. I've noticed that across a lot of brands that the mid-range smartphones pricing have increased.
It has to. And this is where one aspect also comes in for the Note 11 series. And this is where I think we made one mistake, critical one. Because the cost of making a phone and the entire dollar cost and GST cost has gone up, somewhere on the Note side, we continue to try and keep our prices low.
Okay.
So, for example, if you're selling a 15,000 rupee phone today, earlier you could make a $200 phone and sell it at 15. Now to sell it at 15, you will have to make like a $150 phone.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah.
Now, if the components have become better and more expensive, then you have to start compromising. So you will not be able to bring in the latest and greatest tech, which the Note has always been known for.
Yeah, I get it.
So this is where I think the Note 11 series, I remember meeting a lot of our Mi fans. So there were two complaints that came, right? One is there was not something new. So they've always wanted some new tech.
Maybe just you're releasing just for the sake of it.
The second one was too many of them, right?
Many.
So for a good part of 8 years, whenever anyone asked for a mid-range phone, normally Redmi Note used to be the answer.
It used to be coming, yeah, I agree.
That used to be mostly the default answer, saying ki, it's got the best of everything plus some flagship experience. I think because we tried to optimize the cost too much, we probably lost that part a bit. Hopefully, we can get in the new good tech with the next Note.
Oh, interesting. Okay, this is not directly to Xiaomi, but I'll ask you this question. I have noticed that in recent Note, you guys started giving slightly faster charging. I think, if I remember, 67 watt or something.
67.
And you did bundle the charger in that. So will you be continuing to bundle the fast chargers in the box? Because some of the brands competitors have now stopped giving for these chargers, even in the mid-range. I'm not talking about the flagship.
I know this charger watt.
Because I get that question a lot.
Yeah, I also get this question a lot from me fans, and this is essentially why I actually kept these two here.
Okay.
So chargers is a little tricky part right now. One, because the cost of the charger, right? So a fast charger, if you're putting in, for example, this is a 67 watt charger, and this is the hypercharge 120, right? One is the cost of making this and selling it. So 67 watt charger is almost 2,000 rupees.
Okay.
You can buy that separately if you want.
Okay.
And the 120 watt charger is 3,000 rupees.
Okay.
So now suppose I have a phone which sells for 30,000 rupees.
Okay.
If I don't put the 67 watt charger, I can actually sell it for 28.
Correct.
Now brands don't do that because they'll just remove this and keep the price there. Unfortunately in Xiaomi we cannot because our limit is that we can never make more than 5% profit on hardware.
Okay.
So we obviously try and bundle this. The second part is, I think, when you're telling a consumer that your phone supports 67 and you don't give a 67 in the box, it is slightly under-delivering on that promise itself. That person will not...
Especially for fast chargers, yes, I agree.
You'll not be able to experience that part of it, right? And the third part again comes to corporate profits. when you put a charger, this is quite thick, right?
Yeah,
obviously, it has to have all the protection and safety in it. Your box size is
obviously
almost
it'll be bigger, yeah.
correct. So in the same box as one phone, you can put 3.
Okay.
So you save a lot on shipping costs, the cost of trucks, shelf, all of that. So that's extra profit.
Obviously.
Now the challenge obviously is when you ask, do we continue to do
Yes.
this? If consumers put value to this, right?
Okay.
If consumers say that, okay, I don't really care about the charger and I will continue to buy a phone without a charger,
Okay.
even if it promises fast charging, then it becomes tougher for us, right? So again,
Okay, you're saying you can't be the odd one out.
correct. And suddenly everyone else is then able to, for example, in
They'll
this
save that
case,
3,000 bucks
3,000.
cost,
So
apart from the other cost.
So suddenly, if they start kind of pricing it lower than us because they didn't put a good charger in it,
I get it.
it becomes a challenge. So if consumers value it,
Okay.
and if consumers continue to give this right weightage,
Okay.
which I think completes this entire experience, we will continue to include it.
Interesting. Okay, now we know that the Note 11 is done now and the Note 12 series will be launching soon. So what can users expect from this new Note 12 series? What will be different for users?
All of this learning, right, that we just spoke about. So one is a lot more focus coming in.
Okay.
This time I'm hoping that we are able to bring back the Note philosophy.
The mojo back.
Correct.
Okay.
So Note stands for 2 things essentially, right? So one is it has to have some technology that was new to the segment that people can experience for the first time.
Okay.
Right from the start, it's done that. You get some latest, greatest technology, basically a flagship-like experience.
So generally Note used to be a standout in the mid-ranges.
Correct.
So do you think the 12 series will also do that now?
I'm hoping it should
Okay.
be able to.
Okay.
And that's the second part of it where, when you said mid-range, because mid-range has moved itself, we are hoping that, along with that ASP and everything else moving up, we are able to do this right combination and do justice to the mid-premium segment with this particular Note.
Okay.
But we are focusing on, I think, some of the key things which I'm very excited about.
Okay.
So one is, obviously, displays have to be really good. So we're going to continue to focus on displays.
I hope fast charging, you brought it in 11, continues here also. I'm just hoping.
Yeah, so fast charging, and so far, fast chargers in the box.
Okay, so we get that answer.
We are focusing on all the right things. Sometimes you see, even I think we've also been guilty of it sometimes, is when we spend a lot of time making the phone look good.
Okay.
So I call it like, a cosmetic change, but forget the internals.
Okay.
So we're trying to avoid doing that. So even inside, all the right focus comes in, even from a software perspective.
Okay. Because that's a very important part, the software.
So with the next generation of software, there's a lot of changes that we are doing inside so that it runs super fluid. I'm hoping that once that starts rolling out to older devices, your devices also become faster and a clean OS.
Wow. So faster MIUI and a
clean UI.
That's nice. I'm looking forward to that.
Obviously, I think the big play that we are going to do is, I think we started this camera story. Next year, across the board, our camera story is going to be next level.
Okay.
So starting with the Note. Note is where we are starting the year. And this Note actually I have been using.
Okay, so finally I see the device.
It's phenomenal. And we are actually, this is going to be a 200 MP Super Note.
Wow.
With a Super OIS.
Oh, that's actually, that's not done in this segment.
It's flagship level.
Okay.
Right? But interestingly, wherever you've seen 200 MP in one or two flagships, this will improve that experience further.
Okay, interesting. That's a tall claim.
Yeah, so that's what, right? So instead of me just claiming, what I would recommend is, considering you are in our office, we've got camera R&D labs here.
Okay. Yeah, the building is huge. It's big.
So spend some time with our camera expert.
Okay.
So Sandeep Sharma, you would know him.
Yeah, I know.
So Sandeep, we basically hired, to be part of our team almost about 2 years ago. He's been bringing in his expertise to improve our camera tuning so that consumers get the best out of all our cameras.
Okay.
But this one is a special one. It's a favorite. You should definitely test it out.
Okay, cool. I'll just head to speak to Sandeep. Maybe he'll allow me to play around with this.
Cool. Thanks, Ranjit. That's all.
Thank you, Anuj. Pleasure talking to you. Hi guys, I shot the second part of the video where actually I had the opportunity to take photographs from the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus 5G smartphone with that 200 megapixel camera with the Mr. Sandeep. But I noticed that this video already became too long, the interview that I did with Mr. Anuj, and I didn't want to edit it. I want to just keep it raw, the entire one. So the video that I shot with the camera samples actually with Sandeep is also almost about 15 minutes long. Very interesting insight. So I didn't want to add it in this video, but otherwise this would have been over 35 minutes. So what I'll be doing is I'll be posting another video and I'll be posting that video in the next couple of hours by evening or so. So stay tuned. That's a very interesting video. Took some very difficult shots. In fact, I'll also try to share the actual camera samples that we took with the smartphone in that video. So stay tuned for that.